Hey there, and welcome. Ever stop to think about those invisible rules that kind of run our lives? You know, the ones that tell us how to behave, what's important, and pretty much how to see the entire world? Well, today we're going to build a toolkit to help us not just see those rules, but to actually understand them.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a new situation, a new country, maybe even just a new office, and you just feel off. Like everyone else got a copy of the instructions and yours got lost in the mail. That right there is a classic cultural clash. And that's because culture is that unwritten memo. It's the shared software that a whole group of people runs on, passed down from one generation to the next. It's this amazing mix of knowledge, beliefs, and traditions that shapes everything about us, from how we say hello to our deepest ideas about life.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack what's in our own cultural baggage. Then, we'll get our hands on some really powerful frameworks for understanding others. And we'll wrap it all up by putting together a toolkit that'll help us all get along a little better in this big, diverse world. Let's do it.
All right, first things first. To get a handle on any culture, you have to start by looking at its core components. Think of these as the fundamental building blocks, the ideas and principles that everything else is built on.
I really love this metaphor. It's so true, isn't it? Our culture is just like luggage that we carry with us wherever we go. It's packed with all sorts of different things, and each and every item tells a story about who we are.
So, the first thing we pull out of the bag, our beliefs. And really, beliefs are just the things we hold to be true about the world. They're our personal map of reality, drawn from looking through our own unique cultural window.
Okay, next up, we've got values. Now, if beliefs are what we think is true, values are what we think is important. They're the shared ideas about what's good or bad, right or wrong. You could say they're a culture's moral compass. And when you put all of that together, the beliefs, the values, what you end up with is a worldview. This is the big picture stuff. It's a culture's grand, overarching story about the universe and our place in it. It's the ultimate why behind everything.
All right, time to grab our first major tool from the toolkit. How do we even begin to compare these really deep cultural differences? Well, that's where a social psychologist named Geert Hofstede comes in. Think of his framework as a Swiss Army knife for cultural analysis.
Now, this model didn't just come out of nowhere. It came from a massive, and I mean huge, study of IBM employees back in the 70s. He analyzed data from thousands of people all over the globe and found these incredible patterns, consistent, measurable dimensions that could actually be used to map the world's cultures. Pretty amazing stuff. Which brings us to his first big dimension, individualism versus collectivism. It's pretty much what it sounds like, the ultimate I versus we debate. Is a culture all about personal goals and individual achievement, like you see in the US? Or is the focus on the group, the community, where the needs of the we come before the wants of the I? Okay, the next one sounds a little tricky, but stick with me. Masculinity versus femininity. Now, this has nothing to do with men and women. It's all about what a society values. Do they prize more traditionally masculine traits like assertiveness and competition, or do they lean more feminine and prioritize things like quality of life and nurturing relationships? Now, this next one is super interesting. It's called power distance, and it's all about how a society deals with power and inequality. In a high power distance culture, people tend to accept that hierarchy is just the way things are. But in a low power distance culture, people are more likely to question authority and push for more equality. Okay, a quick question for you. When things get chaotic and uncertain, are you the kind of person who scrambles for a rule book, or are you comfortable just winging it? Your answer actually points us right to the next dimension. It's called uncertainty avoidance, and it's exactly what it sounds like. How much a culture tries to avoid ambiguity and the unknown. High avoidance cultures feel much more comfortable with clear rules and procedures. Low avoidance cultures? They're way more relaxed about taking risks and figuring things out as they go. And Hofstade's final dimension is long-term versus short-term orientation. So, is the cultural focus on the future, saving money, being persistent, playing the long game? That's long-term orientation. Or is it all about the here and now, getting quick results and honoring traditions? That's short-term. Okay, let's grab another tool. This one comes from an anthropologist named Edward T. Hall, and it's like a magnifying glass for communication. It helps us zero in on not just what people say, but how they're actually getting their meaning across. So Hall's big idea is the split between high context and low context cultures. In a high context culture, a ton is left unsaid.
The real meaning is hidden in the relationship, in the shared history, in the nonverbal cues. But in a low-context culture, it's the total opposite. People say what they mean and mean what they say. It's all out there in the open.
All right, let's do a quick fire round. We're going to add a couple more specialized lenses to our kit. These are going to let us get even more specific about what makes a culture tick. First up, we've got this framework from Kluckhohn and Strodtbeck. Their idea was that every single society on Earth has to answer the same set of basic, universal questions. For instance, what is our relationship with nature? Are we in charge of it, a part of it? And how a culture chooses to answer these huge questions is exactly what gives it its unique character. And kind of building on that, you've got Schwartz. He zeroed in on 3 core problems that every society has to solve. Like, how do you hold society together? Do you lean towards everyone being equal? That's egalitarianism. Or do you need a clear hierarchy? Where a culture lands on that spectrum tells you a ton about its deepest values. Okay, so we've gathered our tools. We've got Hofstede's dimensions, Hall's context scale, and these other powerful lenses. But now for the most important question of all, so what? Why does any of this actually matter? And this right here is the whole point. This toolkit is all about making a huge mental shift. It helps us move away from what's called ethnocentrism, which is our natural tendency to judge the whole world by our own standards, and it helps us move towards cultural relativism, which is all about swapping out judgment for actual, genuine understanding. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't just some boring theory. This toolkit gives you real power, the power to see your own cultural programming, the power to finally get why other people do the things they do. And that means you can communicate with so much more empathy and effectiveness. It's really about navigating our beautiful, complex world with a lot more confidence. So the next time you get that feeling that you've totally missed the memo, you'll know what's going on. Because now you have the tools, not just to see the invisible rules, but to actually understand them. The only question left is, which tool are you going to use first? Thanks for diving in with me on this one.